Hey, what's up everybody? Go ahead and get started here in just a moment. I want to welcome all of you to Lower Manhattan. We are right on the corner of Canal Street and Bowery. Right as you come across the Manhattan Bridge. And we are looking right at the Jenga building. So we're going to be commuting to 34th Street, Penn Station, all the way from the Manhattan Bridge. As you can see here, this is the off-ramp. So this is everyone coming from Brooklyn, New York, over the bridge to Manhattan. You can see One Manhattan Square in the distance. And it'll drop you right off the Canal Street, which pretty much splits the island of Manhattan in half. Now, if you continue to go all the way down to the west side, that'll take you to the Holland Tunnel. This always has really beautiful sunsets overlooking Tribeca. You can see the Jenga building in the distance. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, I'm still a teeny bit under the weather, so apologize for my voice, but I'm pretty much feeling 100% better. But it's just the voice is a little shot. This is a really cool Buddhist temple here. I had a good friend of mine in college that would go here, and he took me inside. It's an awesome place. So if you visit in New York City and you want to visit, you can visit. It's open to the public, obviously. I think you could even take tours of the building. It's pretty cool. It's right as you come over the Manhattan Bridge. I see DC322, Sally is here. What's going on? Pleasure. Molly F. Thank you, Molly. Appreciate it. Yeah, I don't know what I had. I honestly just think I was run down. I wasn't sleeping well, and when I don't sleep and when I'm traveling, and you know the whole drill, you kind of get run down and you could get a little bit under the weather. Check this view out. Isn't that an amazing view of the Freedom Tower, One World Trade? It's fantastic. Alan is here, Sharon James, Steven. What's up? Joe Ratz is here. Good to see you, Joe. Let's see who else we have. Sunshine After Rain, Lena Sandoval. Welcome. Vivian. Now, it was another busy day on Wall Street. Busy day. We heard from Apple and we heard from Amazon today. I would say both earnings reports were pretty good. Just as we know, Amazon continues to be lacking in their retail sector, or their retail segment. But that's not really the moneymaker for them. The moneymaker for Amazon is AWS. Also, go ahead and check your emails, because I did send out this week's issue of the Behind the Street newsletter. And I think we cover a lot in there. So go ahead and check it out. Now, when I walked past here earlier today, they had this whole area closed off. I'm not too sure why, but since we're here, we might as well check it out. Hey, DM is here. What's up? Yeah, let me know what you think. CJ, is that the guy from Citrion Research. I'm just curious as to what this is. I'm just going to check it out for 3 seconds and then we'll head back. Seems like some sort of outdoor block party. Going on here. This was all blocked off throughout the entire day with police tape. We never really go through this area, Chinatown, so we might as well. I would say it's a very underexplored area of Chinatown. But yeah, we're seeing this massive flight into the bond market, as we saw. Now, yesterday was the Fed day. Unfortunately, we couldn't do a live stream because I just really wasn't feeling too well. But you know, if you read the newsletter, and I don't want to give too much away because I really want you to read it. But I'm starting to see a little bit of similarities between the market that we're going through right now and 2018, when the market threw a little bit of a temper tantrum going into Christmas. Now, I'm not sure if anyone remembers, but ooh, yeah, looks like the police are investigating something. Maybe it's just like, you know what I think it is if I had to guess? If I had to guess, it's probably a prostitution ring or something. If you've ever been in Queens, Jackson Heights, there's actually a lot of them now. And from time to time, the police will kind of bust them up. At least that's what they've been doing. Or Mayor Adams has been suggesting that they're going to close a lot of those operations down. In any event, we were talking about in 2018. So, if you remember correctly, I think this was the 19th of December. So, December 19th, 2018, obviously we had an FOMC meeting, and the Federal Reserve hiked interest rates by 25 basis points, and they were signaling really very hawkish behavior. The market really didn't like that at all. They thought there was a lot of talk about how the Fed is tightening into a recession, the Fed's going to overcook it and kill the economy. And then from December 19th until Christmas Eve, the market sold off, in terms of the S&P 500, sold off about 250 points, or just under 10%, and had this cascading waterfall style sell-off. Now, I see some kind of similarities to that situation and to the situation that's happening right now, because, yeah, the Fed paused, and Fed Chair Jerome Powell was a little bit dovish in his speech yesterday, but you got to pay attention to that action in the bond market, because it was huge, absolutely huge. Massive amounts of cash made its way into the debt market, and yields cratered across the board, across the short end of the curve, across the long end of the curve, and the 10-year US Treasury yield went under 4% for the first time since the beginning of the year. And to me, that's the market kind of throwing a little bit of a tizzy to say, look, we're going to price in rate cuts. Rates have to come down. We're going to go risk off. We're going to sell risk, right? To use the terminology, we're going to sell risk leading up into the election. Lots of uncertainty, and I think you could see a little bit of further action, further volatility here, which maybe wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, because if everybody remembers that bottom on Christmas Eve in 2018, that set us up for a monster rally, which I think we may get after the presidential elections. Look at how nice it is down here. I like how the police close off the side streets here. This way it makes way for people eating outside, dining outside. It's quite nice. I see Alec S. What's going on? Thanks for joining us. Hey, Troy Atman. What's going on? So what's causing the bloodbath? The economy is rocking and inflation is falling and cuts are coming. I don't get it. Check your email. I wrote about it a little bit in the newsletter, but my voice is a little bit hoarse today. But I think it's well warranted. I mean, think about the litany of uncertainty that we have in the market. Just to list a few of them. We just went through an assassination attempt on the president. We have the current president deciding not to run again. So now the market has to readjust for Kamala Harris or Trump. We have wars raging in the Middle East and in Eastern Europe. And we have a little bit of softening in the labor market, while we've had a major run and a great run in the market. 2 weeks ago, we published our newsletter and we talked about that historical extension above the 50-day moving average. And this was just going into earnings season. So we were going into earnings season, NASDAQ, S&P trading at record highs, but also trading 10 to 12% above the 50. That means a lot of the individual stocks were overcooked. So going into earnings season, even if you hit and make your earnings number, maybe guidance is a little weak, you're gonna get hit a little bit. So I think what we're seeing, generally speaking, is people selling risk leading up until the presidential election, which makes sense. Waiting for a decision to be made on if we're going to get Madam President Kamala Harris or President Donald Trump, and then redeploying capital appropriately based upon the situation, right? Because the main difference between the two candidates, and we're not going to get super political, but they're actually pretty similar. I think the biggest difference is just the tax policy and the tax strategy, particularly as it relates to cryptocurrencies. Guys, how cool is this? This is like the coolest spot ever, man. What do you guys think? Well, let me stand back a little bit because there's a better shot actually. If we stand back a little bit more, you'll be able to see the World Trade Center in the distance. How cool is that? Hey, Crypto Meme, good to see you. This is one of the reasons why I love New York. like long term, I don't think I could live in the suburbs. I kind of need to be around. I need to be around this craziness. Let's zoom in a little bit. Hey, Vivian is here, Frank. The FDNY is here, Papa Smurf OG. Thanks for joining us. Tatted T, what's up? Chris, has any thoughts for us crypto holders? I hold a lot of Bitcoin, and I'll never sell my Bitcoin. But without kind of diving too deep into politics, it's been clear that one candidate is very, very pro crypto and one is not, at least for now. Gregory says, I just don't see paying $6,000 a month to have access to a scene like this. $6,000 a month, $6,000 a month for what? All right, let's make a little loop around. Gregory says for rent. Well, then rent something that's like $2,500 or $3,000. Maybe may not be a great place, but or you could live with a roommate or something. East Broadway train station for the F.
And I didn't get it because of
Hey, what's up, the wizard? All right, let's double back. We'll start to head uptown. Hey, Data Discovery. Oh, I think Data Discovery is my Twitter friend. Data Discovery, you got me sick. You got me sick, man. Just getting over. I don't know what I had, but man, I felt like death for a few days. That's it, Shadowstock. What's up, man? Good to see you. Now we had Apple and Amazon report today. And we have been talking about one particular semiconductor stock or company that's just an absolute train wreck, and that is Intel. Now, I've not been a fan of Intel for quite some time, but after their earnings report, they announced they're going to lay off about 15% of their employees and cut their dividend, and the stock is down another 18%. And in my view, Intel stopped innovating a long time ago, and they prioritized corporate compensation and dividends. And there's just no way that they can compete with any of these other large chip manufacturers. Now, what's not helping Intel's case is we're having this big sell-off just in semiconductors in general. You know, and the key to the market, particularly this market, right, with the whole narrative being AI, it's chips, it's semiconductors. And we've had an amazing, amazing run. But if you look at the SOX, right, the semiconductor index, SOXX, We're now, I mean, the industry doesn't look good at all. We're trading well below the 50-day. Nvidia, I think, topped, and AMD, I think, sliced below its 200-day, and it's off 40% from its highs. So I think you're gonna, you know, in my opinion, I think you'll kind of see this sell-off or kind of de-risking leading up into the election. Now, if we think about all, like, Meta reported, we didn't have enough time to go into that because I didn't do the live stream. A lot of these cloud computing companies, Microsoft Azure, AWS, Google's Google Cloud. Let's go around this guy. Are big customers to purchase a lot of these chips. And a concern is that, all right, let's say if we have a turn down in the economy or a slowdown in the economy, we fall into recession. Well, you don't think that these big tech companies that are Nvidia's biggest customers are not going to slash their spend? It's possible. I don't think we'll fall into recession. What was concerning today, if you looked at the ISM manufacturing report, wasn't so good. Now, the last two reports, you started to see where it says what respondents are saying. They've kind of been forecasting a little bit of a slowdown. But manufacturing is in contraction. This is 1 Manhattan Square. Hey, AI Bob, what's up? This is Hold On Tom with a likely September rate cut by Fed Powell. Is the economy considered weak enough that if the interest rate stays higher any longer, it will cause a recession? I don't know. I mean, the economy's been pretty robust. We had a better than expected GDP print, but we have been getting some concerning jobless claims data. But I think the thing is this, and I was kind of thinking about this today, a potential similarity between 2018 and what we're going through now. So if you pull up a chart of the S&P 500, you go back to December 19th, 2018, the Fed raised by 25 basis points, but Fed Chair Powell came off very, very hawkish. And that set the market really into a frenzy. Everybody was really all beside themselves because they're like, hey, we're tightening into recession. The Fed's gonna overdo this thing. It's gonna kill the economy. And we had this huge waterfall sell-off. Maybe, just maybe, and I'm not saying this is my personal view on monetary policy, but perhaps the market is kind of signaling that the Fed should have already cut interest rates. Now, I'm not saying that's my personal policy and my personal opinions, but it is quite possible because, again, that was some huge action in the bond market, right? If you look at the 10-year U.S. Treasury, if you look at the 30-year, you know, that was a lot of buying in there, and yields really collapsed. You know, the 10-year U.S. Treasury yield's under 4%. You had a lot of cash moving out of U.S. equities. So maybe we'll have something similar. Maybe we'll have a little bit of a cascade correction, shakeout, leading up until the election. And then once we have more clarity and these stocks, you know, build out their bases and we don't fall into recession, I think you could buy these things and we'll have a really, really great Q4. If I had to be Nostradamus and predict something, I think that's probably what I'm what's it called? Going for. Should I take you guys to the Brooklyn Bridge? Let's do it. It's actually kind of nice out. Hey, Hang with Mark Mom, what's up? Data Discovery says, thanks for the potential idea. I might buy Intel. Capital structure, management, historical, and relative cheapness, small insider buying. What are your thoughts, Shadow Stock, on NVIDIA acquiring Intel? Any thoughts? I mean, the stock is down another 18%. Let me pull up my other phone. Let's see where this thing is trading at. Let's see. We'll just try not to get hit by the food delivery bicycle guy. Wow, that's so wild. Well, let me pull off by all the heroin needles here, just so I could show you guys. It's crazy. Intel is pretty much back to 2014 levels. It's really, really wild. And it's down about 19% after hours. Now, I've been hearing from a good friend over the course of the last maybe like 60 days who works in tech that there's some real big issues at Intel. And there could potentially be some sort of a, I don't know if the right terminology is recall on some of their chips, but it could amount to about $40 billion. AI Bob says, wow, NVIDIA buying Intel. Cool thought, but probably wouldn't happen. It would happen if they think there's anything salvageable at the company. Hey, Jake from Florida. Says, hey Tom, I ordered the Demoderan on valuation based off of your suggestion. I have yet to start reading it though. Yeah, check it out. And you could go to his website and you could take the course for free. Now, obviously you won't get any college credit for it, but it's the actual course that he teaches at NYU. And you have access to all the coursework and the exam. You can actually take the exam for free. So check it out. That's both the corporate finance and security analysis course at the Stern School of Business. But you know, it's interesting. I mean, with Intel really getting killed here, you know, maybe somebody could scoop up that company. Paul says Intel chips are overheating. That's what I heard, and causing oxidation, which is reducing the lifetime significantly. Hey JC, what's up? We're gonna have some pretty cool views on the stream tonight. You have a beautiful shot of the World Trade Center. Hey, Tug Carter says, hey Tom, good to see you out tonight. Hope you're feeling better. Yeah, I'm pretty much 100%. Like, I feel 100%. It's just my voice is like 65% back. What else was I going to say? I was going to say something. I was going to cover predictions turned wrong. So, does anybody remember me hyping up the Apple Vision Pro? Anyone remember that? So if you think back to when the Vision Pro just came out, it was like this wave of hype. And one of those people was including me. I always tend to think that, you know, once someone, particularly a company like Apple, launches a new product, I feel like it's the next best thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, this thing is incredible. We were actually going down into the Apple stores and seeing people, like lines of people buying these things. But apparently they're gonna miss their expected sales targets by upwards of 90%, which is wild. So who knows, maybe they'll just abandon the project altogether. But talk about a big miss there. But I think it's an interesting lesson. And I was having a conversation with a friend today. And they said, regardless of if the Vision Pro succeeds or not, Apple just kind of had to do it to compete with Zuckerberg for the Quest headset, right? Because at the end of the day, let's say, you know, this thing sucks, nobody actually uses it, it's just like kind of like a cool little hokey thing, and it doesn't have any staying power, it's not even going to be a rounding error on Apple's balance sheet. But on the flip side, and we're gonna just quickly meander around here. I'm gonna take you guys to this new park that's right under 1 Manhattan Square. But on the flip side, if it really did become the next best thing, Apple gets all the upside. So we'll see. Additionally, regarding the Apple Vision Pro, was the expense. Everyone's like, there's no way people are gonna buy this thing for thousands of dollars. And that may be true. However, for a first generation product like that, particularly coming out of Apple, it's really not for the masses. It's for the developers, it's for the hardcore Apple fanboys and fangirls to buy it, get their hands on it, and provide feedback. And should the company see any, how do you call it, promise in the product looking forward, well, then they could work to reduce some of the costs. Hey, Doc7, what's up? Yeah, Bob says you never know what's the next hot thing. This is a pretty cool shot here. This is 1 Manhattan Square. This is an Xtel project. It's nice, but it has a lot of units. So if you're looking for something that's, you know, a little private, this definitely isn't the building for you. This has a ton of units and it's pretty far away. I mean, it's nice here during the summer, but the winter, this place, it feels very, very desolate down here. But Xtel is a very good developer. Hey, Jeff in Southern Tier, New York. Good to see you. Thanks for joining. S says, is the AI hype dead? I don't think it's dead. I mean, if you listen to what Zuckerberg said on Meta's earnings report, the demand is very, very high. However, the thing is, it's going to take a long time before companies start actually making profits on AI. But that's usually how everything gets built out, right? You have this first wave of capital spend, right? So it's going to cost a lot of money to build out the infrastructure, the energy infrastructure, the data center to run AI. But in terms of the actual use case of artificial intelligence to bring companies profit, which is what it's all about, that could take a long time, that could take a while. So you'll probably have waves of the AI cycle. Check this out. You have this great view of the Brooklyn Bridge. Judy says, Tom, can you please share the link again? Which link are you talking about? I may have forgotten. I apologize. Feels like 10 degrees cooler down here. God. Feels like the tide is quite high too. This is looking at the Manhattan Bridge. You know what I was thinking about today? I was thinking about the triathlon at the Paris Olympics. Now, according to a few of these articles that I was reading, the water was too dirty for the athletes to actually swim in the river in Paris. So they had to postpone the swimming portion of the triathlon for like 2 days. I guess they went on with it today or yesterday, but I don't know if I trust that. I don't know if I trust that. If just 2 days ago the levels of E. coli in the water were so high that it was dangerous for swimmers, I would never swim in that thing. Not even if I'm going for a gold medal. I mean, what if you come home with some freak respiratory disease? Anyway, I was just thinking about it now because we're looking at the river. I would never swim in this thing either. Hey, Brad's Brain, what's up? If you take your own business and think through how AI could be utilized in it, you will realize that AI has light years of growth ahead of it. Agreed. The LT Prods is Boston Harbor too. Is that really polluted up there? I didn't know that. I feel as if Boston Harbor would probably be a little bit cleaner than New York. Hey, Alessandro, welcome to Lower Manhattan. We're just taking in some good views tonight. Data discoveries that I used to swim in the water under the Whitestone Bridge in Queens. Yikes. Now, when I was a teenager, I used to take the bus to Whitestone. I'm trying to think. This was when I had a little job. The corporate headquarters, and you could look it up, of Enterprise Holdings or Enterprise Rent-A-Car is in Whitestone, Queens. And I had to take the bus there to do trainings and stuff. It was right by, I haven't been there in years. But it was right there. I would take the subway to Flushing, and I'd take the bus to Whitestone. I think it was the Q14? I don't know. This was a long time ago. This was, oh man, 2012, 2011, 2013. Now this building here is very, very cool. This is Olympia Dumbo. This is one of the best condos in Brooklyn. This thing is amazing. Hey, Ryan Beck, what's up? Good to see you. Trade Brigade is here. What's going on? Trade Brigade, we were just talking about the horror show with Intel. Intel is down about 19% after hours. They're going to lay off about 15% of their staff, and they are going to suspend their dividend. Disaster of a quarter. Disaster of a company, honestly. But pretty much everything across the board, everyone's selling risk. Amazon reported, I thought it was a decent quarter. A little light in retail. They're struggling with profitability there. And our good friends Apple reported too. Jackass says, hey Tom, what are your thoughts on Bill Ackman's failed fund offering? I like Ackman, but I just don't know if there's that. just don't know if there's appetite for that kind of investment right now. Like, it's not. It's his fund, right? It's not like an innovative tech IPO. So it's a pretty tough sell to investors, right? To get people to pony up cash for Bill Ackman's IPO. That's kind of how I feel. Now, Rich, the CEO of Jeffries, which I think now he's probably worth almost $3 billion, because Jeffries, all but 2 weeks ago, was trading at brand new record highs. And I think, don't quote me on this, but I think Rich owns maybe 12% of. I think that's too high. I gotta Google it. But he owns a significant portion of Jeffries. I think maybe a little bit under 10%. Forget. But he's done really, really well. But anyway, he sent a note out to clients saying that the IPO market is open for business, but the disclaimer at the end is, should things be priced appropriately? That's the big key, right? Should companies really want to be priced appropriately? It's kind of like talking about the housing market and saying, the housing market's open for business. So many deals are going to get done. It just, it depends on if the sellers want to price their properties appropriately, right? All right, let's try to maneuver around here. But yeah, this is going to be the brand new park, and this is going to go all the way down to the South Street Seaport. So this is going to be pretty cool. This is going to be really, really cool. I'm assuming it'll revitalize the neighborhood, because keep in mind, these are the NYCHA housing. For those of you who are not from New York and you're familiar with, or you're not familiar, I should say, with NYCHA, that's kind of like the projects, right? Government housing. Ryan Beck, I think I agree with you. Ackman is a disciple of Warren Buffett. I think I don't know what Ackman is thinking, but he definitely wants to build himself a Berkshire Hathaway. I think that's probably what he wants to leave his legacy as. I think he'd like to make Pershing into, a mini Berkshire. If I had to guess. catch up on some of the comments here. Now, there's also some interesting data on stock market returns, historical stock market returns during election years. And this is coming out of Fundstrat, which is Tom Lee's company, which is based in New York. Now, an overarching view, about 80% of the time during a presidential election year, the market is positive. The S&P ends with positive returns. Now, if you want to break it down by quarter, the worst quarter, or I should say the worst performing quarter within a presidential election year is Q3, which kind of makes sense, right? Because Q3 is right as you're leading up to the election. There's a lot of uncertainty. And this has been by far, at least in my lifetime, by far the wildest, craziest, over the top, just absolutely nuts election cycle. I think that's undeniable, right? Particularly for Gen Z millennials. This is the craziest ever. We had an assassination attempt. Then a few weeks after that, we had the current president, Joe Biden, decides, hey, I'm not gonna run again. I'm gonna step aside and I'm gonna place candidate Harris as the nominee and throw everyone through a curveball. So there's so much uncertainty. So after the banner Q1 and Q2 we had, this has been probably one of the best Q1, Q2s that I've ever traded through. I think it's appropriate for everyone to de-risk, sell risk assets. I think there's going to be, depending on what the betting markets say who's going to win, Trump or Vice President Harris. I think there's going to be significant implications for the crypto markets, depending on either or. So maybe just Q3 is our sell-off. And then once we could have some clarity, even if we get Kamala Harris in there, right? At least we have some clarity of who it's going to be, so institutions and investors can deploy capital appropriately and plan for taxes, plan for new regulations, if any. We'll just have to see. But Q4 is usually very good in presidential election years. So we'll see. I think that there's going to be a lot of opportunity, lots and lots of opportunity to buy some great companies. This is 130 William here. Mom. Agreed. Yeah, and like I said, this is probably the most heightened, crazy election cycle with the craziest rhetoric. But the two candidates are actually kind of similar. I think the biggest difference is just tax policy. They're both very big spenders, right? I mean, if you think that Trump is going to become president and he's going to be some, frugal guy, and not spend, I mean, you're crazy. It's going to be like Christmas Eve at Del Frisco's. It's going to be, T-bone steaks for everyone. And same with Harris. So I think the fiscal side of the house we'll just wait for the FDNY to go by. Give us a second. Now, right behind here was where Jeffrey Epstein got murdered. I mean, committed suicide. I'll leave you guys with that one. So kind of back on track. So from a fiscal point of view, government spending, they're both very, very big spenders. And also Trump has a very big ego, and he's a business guy, and he understands the game. He knows that, and since this is going to be his last term, obviously, assuming he gets elected, I think he's going to go all out and just try to juice things, you know. So I think there's going to be massive government spending packages to really, really turbocharge and juice the economy. And you'll probably get the same thing with Harris. To be quite frank, the biggest difference is going to be with tax policy. And what I care about, maybe most of you don't care about, but I do, is the implications on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Because I think that, well, look, I give everybody a chance. I give everybody a chance. It looked like current Vice President Harris was going to speak at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville, and I was very encouraged by that. Then she pulled out and didn't do it, which is not too encouraging for me. But Trump is on board. He's on board with crypto. So I think a lot of those crypto-based businesses will stay in the US, and you'll attract a lot of business to the United States if he's elected. But it's to be determined with Vice President Harris. Data discoveries is exactly, Trump will juice the economy. Trump has a history of using leverage bigly, but Harris will be more government spending and taxes. I agree, and everyone that I've talked to is kind of in line with that. Is kind of in line. Now, many of you also would say, you know, a big other thing is like the culture war stuff, but we don't really talk about that on this channel. But speaking about how it would impact the economy and markets, almost kind of very similar, actually. It's true Trump is a Republican, but Trump is a real estate guy and Trump is a debt guy, okay? Trump is like, Trump knows how to lever up to the gills and put on size, you know, whether you, whether it goes belly up or not, so. And look, some of these government spending packages are pretty decent, right? I was in favor mostly of the CHIPS and Science Act. I think we need to be manufacturing more semiconductor infrastructure here. Obviously, it's going to take, you know, 5 to 10 years before that actually gets up and running. This is a cool shot. This is 130 William, one of the best-selling condos of 2023 in Manhattan. And we're now on the campus of Pace University. JC says drill baby drill. There was such a funny clip. I was watching, I don't know if it was the Trump rally or he was speaking somewhere, I don't know. But the way he says drill baby drill is freaking just hilarious. Now that's something that I think most Americans kind of get a little confused on, right? Lower oil prices is not, that's not what ExxonMobil is not necessarily licking their chops saying, I can't wait until we're forced to drill and, you know, reduce our margins. ExxonMobil makes a fortune when oil is elevated. Now they'll probably still make a fortune regardless. But speaking of that, where is crude oil right now? I think we're at like $73 a barrel, something like that. Let me check. I can pull it up on my other phone. Now, amid the crazy sell-off today, you know what was the lone sector that actually had a really good day today? And I was thinking about Trade Brigade when I saw the print. Utilities. Trade Brigade's been talking about utilities for a while now. Utilities were ramping today. I think it was up 2%. The utilities ETF. I think it actually broke out of its base. Let me pull up the chart. But I was watching the tape today. I was like, holy shit, everything is down except utilities. It was like a big flight into the bond market, right? Yields were getting crushed, and utilities were doing really, really good. That's all kind of like recessionary warning signs. But again, perhaps it's just the market throwing a little bit of a tizzy because Fed Chair Powell isn't cutting. Again, going back to my analogy where it could potentially be similar to 2018 where the market just blew wide open. I actually remember where I was. It was Christmas Eve and I was like, the S&P is down how much? It was 4 days back to back to back of the S&P just getting killed. But the market bottomed on Christmas Eve. And all the headlines were like of Santa getting bruised and beaten up. Let me see if I can pull that up. It's very similar. It's quite possible we may have that same exact thing. See if I get any internet on this phone. Hey, Tariq Khan, good to see you. Yeah, look at utilities. Just absolutely going to Pluto today. Let me pull it up on a weekly. This actually looks like a pretty good base. Look at that. We may break out above those highs. Okay, we'll go to the SPX. Okay, this is what I am talking about, my friends. So this right here is when the market blew wide open, selling off into Christmas Eve. But what did the market do right before it blew wide open? Well, it was the FOMC meeting on December 19th when the Fed raised 25 basis points and he came off more hawkish than usual. And everyone was ripping Fed chair. In the newsletter, I posted some links to some of the old articles. I went into the CNBC archives to kind of do that. But I was like, you know, I sometimes watch these pundits on CNBC. I sometimes watch these people on Bloomberg. And there's been a few people that say, look, the Fed should have already cut. And this isn't my personal opinion, by the way. But there has been people that says, look, the market thinks the Fed should have already cut. You know, all of the leading economic indicators are pointing to inflation is on its way back down to 2%. You have the labor market softening quite a bit. The unemployment rate is ticking back up. By the way, tomorrow I think we get the most updated unemployment number, or unemployment rate drops tomorrow at 8:30, I think. So who knows? I think that would be a dream scenario if we really start to continue to accelerate to the downside. And then be able to ramp. This is Joe Pizza. I think this location is better than the one in Times Square because you have this awesome view of the World Trade Center. All right, since we're here, let's go by 130 William. Doc 7 makes a good point. And here's another thing. Also, I think the media has conditioned us. And one of my college professors said this one time in a lecture, and I thought it was so good. He's like, this was in one of my forensic accounting courses, and he said, sometimes the media will condition us to give us a reason behind every market movement. Do you guys ever notice that, by the way? If you ever read a CNBC headline, and let's say the Dow is down 600 points, they always attach a reason to it. And let's say if the S&P is up, 100 points, which is like a 2% move, it's huge. They'll always attach a reason to it, right? Like, and same with a specific stock. If Amazon, today, instead of gapping down a few percent, gapped up a few percent, it says Amazon up on better than expected AWS cloud reporting. But if it's down, they'll just find one random negative thing in the report and then assign that as the justification. There doesn't need to be justification. The market goes up, the market goes down. And if stocks get extended, they get sold off. If you're an institution, you're running a big book, right? And kind of like what we talked about a month ago, right, when NVIDIA was into new highs, that stock is up, 500% on the year? That means some institutions, this thing has grown to like 7% of their entire book. Sometimes Fidelity will just say, tell one of the traders, the PM will tell one of the traders, blow out 2 billion of NVIDIA, and they'll just blow it out. Not because the thesis has changed, just because it's gotten to be such a big portion of the portfolio because it's up so much. So there doesn't need to be a reason for the stocks to go up or down. Sometimes it's just people are selling and these stocks have gotten extended. It's an interesting point. Hey, MBA Elias, what's up? Always a pleasure to see you. We're here at 130 William, and it looks like this new coffee shop just opened up. I've never seen this open before. And I bet you anything this place is really, really good, because 130 William is one of the best buildings in Manhattan. You're not really gonna be able to see the top of it, but you can take my word for it. This building is great. Great, great building. Hey, what's up, Professor Dario? Oh, Professor, how did your interview go, by the way? It's so interesting. Professor Dario in the chat is interviewing for a professor position at my alma mater. That'd be pretty cool. Maybe I'd have to re-enroll and take the course. If I knew anybody there still, I'd put in a good word. But professor says it was rescheduled. Well, hopefully you get it. That'd be amazing. That'd be great. John Jay definitely needs some good professors. All right, let's go to the Federal Reserve since we were talking about the Fed today. You might as well pay a visit. Brian M. So Stan Druckenmiller said he sold NVIDIA because it was up a ton, not because he was bearish on the company. Yeah, and you know, Stan Druckenmiller is one of those investors, greatest of all time. He's similar style to Soros. He used to, I mean, that's how he got his start. He used to work directly for George Soros. And Soros is a huge risk taker. I mean, talk about massive size. You know, major conviction. Piles in these names with tremendous size and gets on huge leverage. Those are those type of guys. Professor says I teach food science and human nutrition and also neuroscience. Very cool. The Federal Reserve also has its own police force. Clarence Jackson says Druckenmiller also made moves in small caps. Yeah, that's true. I saw that interview as well. He also has in one of his filings, has a massive position in the Russell 2000. Which I see, the thesis kind of makes sense, right? If interest rates are going to come down, that should help small caps, right? But the only thing that kind of gets me a little frightened is, you know, a lot of these, and a lot being a lot, of these small cap companies, they don't have any earnings. This is the Fed right here. So could they potentially be mispriced? Yeah, for sure. And if we really do get about 200 basis points worth of cuts by this time next year, that could definitely act as a tailwind to them. But at the end of the day, a lot of those companies are not profitable. But rates are already coming down, right? If you look at the 10-year Treasury, huge buying in the bond market, and the 10-year is below 4%, which there's a high correlation between mortgage rates, like a 30-year fixed, and the 10-year. And mortgage rates have come down substantially too, just over the last week. So we'll see if that gets things moving in the housing market, because it's been, I'm not even gonna say pretty much non-existent. It's just been like quite literally zero transaction volume in the housing market. I'm being a little bit facetious, but comparative to 2021, it's almost nothing. So here is the Federal Reserve Police. Outside of the New York Federal Reserve. think most of the world's gold deposits are inside this building. This thing is like Fort Knox. It's crazy standing under this door. It's a lot bigger than what it appears on the live stream. It's right on the corner of Nassau Street. Look at all the cameras here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's cameras everywhere. This is right here, 28 Liberty, is where they filmed that movie, The Money Monster, with George Clooney. This seems to be a little bit of overkill too. Look at how many cameras there are here. Look at that, there's 2 levels of cameras. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Really? Do you really need 2 separate levels of cameras here? Let's check on the old Deutsche Bank. Not gonna lie, it kind of looks weird with all the lights being off. This is 60 Wall Street. That is the old Deutsche Bank. Deutsche is now in the old Time Warner Center, Columbus Circle. And I think they're going to convert that into condos or do something with it. Maybe repurpose, do like half and half. This is 40 Wall Street. Now we'll take a quick lap around Federal Hall. This is another condo conversion building on Pine Street. This used to be that Rite Aid that went out of business. Look at how cool it is in here. There used to be a Dwayne Reed, I think. Now the amenities in this building, 20 Pine, they're all in the basement. And in the basement used to be an old bank vault. And they've kept the original bank vault, and inside the vault is a pool. Very cool. So you walk through the big doors of the bank, right, the old vault, and that's the swimming pool for the building. It's kind of cool. A little bit too dark for me though. And here we are, right outside of the New York Stock Exchange. Right on Wall Street. With all the scaffolding around the Federal Hall building. It's going to be up for about 10 years, the scaffolding. Tariq Khan, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you for watching. This is looking up by the Trinity Church. And that building just to the left, that's One Wall Street. That's currently the largest office to condo conversion in the city's history, which it's about to be dethroned. The old Pfizer building, I'm not sure if you guys knew this. We talked about it a few weeks ago. But the old Pfizer headquarters on 42nd Street, Pfizer moved to the Hudson Yards. And their office building is going to be converted into condos or apartments. It's going to be the largest office to apartment project, not only in New York City's history, but in the entire history of the United States. It's going to be massive. This is the Fearless Girl. Seaport Entertainment Group, SEG. I've never even heard of it. Never heard of it. Can we see George? Let's see. Before they had the scaffolding all over George. There we go. There's Mr. President. I bought this really nice painting, and the view is as if the painter is standing behind George Washington, looking at the stock exchange. This is the only kind of artwork that's kind of worth any money I own. Now, if you walk all the way down Wall Street and you go to the building 82 Wall Street, that used to be my old office. And it turns out that address is where the original Buttonwood Agreement was signed to create the first ever stock exchange. And now it is called the Wall Street Hotel. It's actually a hotel. I think it's a 4-star hotel too. If you ever go inside the stock exchange, you could ask them to take you to the original Buttonwood Agreement. and they'll show it to you. It's behind plexiglass. I think it's on one of the upper floors. It's a very, very cool experience. What do you guys think? Would you rather live down here, Lower Manhattan, Wall Street, or would you rather live near Central Park? What do you think? I think I'd rather live near Central Park, but it's kind of cool down here too. It's just a little bit too desolate for me. See a lot of Central Park. Shannon's the Village. JK's to the east side. Or Dumbo. Brooklyn Heights. Really, Peters, the Seaport Entertainment is a spin-off of Howard Hughes Holdings. Huh. We'll have to ask Bill Ackman about that. Peter, glad to see you back. All right, we'll go see the Mighty Bull. Right on Broadway. Currently on Beaver Street. It's raining. Let's see how many people are at the Bowl tonight. Actually, quite a few people. Try to go up front. Bowl's looking pretty good. spire of the Chrysler building a little bit. I think this park, Bowling Green Park, there used to be a big statue of King George III, and during the Revolutionary War, I think his statue was taken down and melted down to be used as bullets. Isn't that kind of cool? Now, if you look here, you can come to the park. I think if you look on top of these little stakes here, it used to be little teeny, kind of like an equestrian statue, if you will, of, oops, let me try to zoom in. Give me a second. Oops. I think we'll just have to make it do. But it used to be a little thing of King George III here on all the different ones. One right here. You can kind of see how they chopped them off. So you can come here and the people chopped these off, melted them down, and used them as bullets during the Revolution. It's kind of wild that the fence is still here. Just to think back so many years ago, there was a little monument on the top. Right here, right here, right here, all the way down. It's pretty cool, right? It's crazy how this thing has stood the test of time all those years ago, the same fence. It's just wild. Crazy, crazy. All right, everyone, but I think we'll call it a night here. I do want to give my voice a rest, and we'll probably be 100% better tomorrow. So thanks for joining this walk of Lower Manhattan. If you guys enjoyed it, feel free to leave a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and also check your email, by the way. I just sent out our free investing newsletter, so go ahead and check your email, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks so much for joining. So Professor, Middle-Aged Grind, Tatted T, Richard Vogel, Shadow Stock, Dale, JK, Tariq Khan, Gene S, DC322, Mark Francis, Fun Feeds, Doc7. See you guys soon. Signing off from Lower Manhattan. This is going to be cool, by the way, all the way over here, Battery Park. I'm going to have to do a standalone walking tour here because this is going to be all brand new. They're totally ripping up the entire park. This is going to be, everything's going to be new sidewalk. It's going to be fantastic. So we're looking forward to that as well. All right, take care, everybody.